All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 3 o'clock Eastern time here on Tuesday. And you know what that means, Go Get It Nation. It is time to go ringside. It is time for a no holds barred, no safety net, no script, thinking on thinking on our feet discussion. And I have the pleasure of welcoming on a guest that, obviously is a perfect fit for this show, where we talk about the voice talent world and we talk about the marketing world. And when I saw I had the opportunity to bring him on and allow him to share his knowledge, especially what he knows about direct marketing and email marketing, I said, man, I got to get me some Tom. And man, we got ourselves some Tom. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to voiceover talent extraordinaire, direct marketer, and my big toe, Tom Aglio. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on the show today. Let me remind everyone of a couple of things. We're going to get into some shout outs to everybody jumping on. If you are watching us today on the live stream, please make it a point to put your name in the comments, and we're going to give you the requisite fist bump and a what up. We are on Facebook Live. We are on LinkedIn Live. We're broadcasting on YouTube Live. We're also simulcasting on Clubhouse. If you are listening on Clubhouse, and I see Joe is with us on Clubhouse, I appreciate it. Please, a reminder to mute your mic, and a reminder that I will be hanging out a little while after the show for a post-game chat on Clubhouse, whoever wants to hang out. Now, let's get to some shout-outs. Shall we, Tom?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see. So we got Steve Tardio in the house. What up, Steve?
What's up, Steve?
D. Albus is here.
D.
Charlie Wyrock, the power of three. What's up, dude?
What's going on?
And Lucente is here. What
That's
up,
my good friend. What's up, Ann?
Anthony Palmini is here, my buddy.
What's good?
John Grimes is here. Hottie the Rock Hajar is here. What's
Hottie,
up,
I was just talking to you. What's going on?
Robert Jonathan, the animation voice, is here.
Sweet.
The big dog, Jim Cooper, is here. And so far, the urban legend is here, Damon Allums.
Nice.
Thank you all for joining us. So, Tom, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
And it's long overdue. And, you and I have been kind of buddies online for a while, and I've been watching what you're doing, and, huge fan of how you're helping out people. And,
thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm going to start off by asking you a question.
Okay.
But I want our viewers to know, guys, gals, if you ever had an opportunity to get marketing information, today's the day. Queue up your questions. You got questions about email, you got questions about marketing, you got questions about social, whatever it is. Today is the day. You got two heads here, make good use of it. Okay.
Definitely.
So let me ask you a question, Tom. It's like,
yes,
you have this awesome voiceover career. You're doing video games. You're the millennial voice. You got that great young hip sound.
Thank you.
But you're also helping out talent with their marketing.
Yeah.
How did you get from the one to the other? Did they happen together? Did you just make the decision, well, geez, I know all this stuff that's working for me, let me share it? What happened?
Sure. So, I've been in the voiceover game since like 2017. So it hasn't been that long. I've been an actor forever. So I was starting out like everybody else. I had my agents. I was on some of the pay to plays, and some different like websites and stuff out there. But then in 2019, I said, you know what? I said, I'm not somebody who can just sit back and wait for work to come to me. So I spoke to a lot of amazing marketers in the voiceover world who I know, people like Tom Deere and Chris Miller. And I was watching the stuff that you were doing, and I was getting inspired. And, I just said, you know what, let me learn from these people, kind of learn from where my strengths are. And I realized that I love emailing, and that comes from my background in corporate America, where I kind of know like the best practices and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I started doing that in April of 2019. And then by June, I had doubled my income year over year. Wow. And, it was something I was like, you know what, I really have something here. Let me do that. And it was great because I was getting jobs that I wasn't seeing anywhere else. There's just so much work out there. And the pandemic happened. And you know, a lot of people have been telling me to coach and direct marketing. I had done some classes on it and stuff, and finally my wife pushed me. She pushed me to take the plunge in
CFO.
Yep, exactly. She takes 100% of my profits.
Yeah, I got one of those too.
And it just took off, man. It took off, and it's been great. And I've learned so much even just by teaching. So
excellent. Well, let's welcome a few more people on board here.
Yeah.
Let's see who joined us here. David Inahosa has joined us.
What's up, David?
John McBride is here. Dave Dickinson is here. And Venus Gentile, the British voiceover, is here. Thank you all for joining us here today. Let me reiterate, we are here with fellow voiceover talent and direct marketing expert, Mr. Tom Aglio. And let me also recommend that you guys need to be asking questions of Tom today. I have already won an arm wrestling match, and so he has agreed to share some of his pretty cool secrets with you today. And just ask questions, guys. This is your forum. Consider it the voiceover marketing town hall. That's what Ringside is today. I got plenty of questions, and I'll keep asking Tom.
No, yeah, definitely.
As long as you don't. But this is your opportunity, guys, to tap into the expertise that Tom has. So let me ask this question.
Yeah. Your
strength is emailing.
Yes.
Came from your time, working that C-suite job, let's just say.
Exactly.
And, for the voiceover talent, email's a scary thing.
Yeah.
And, you ask 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different recommendations on, I have a certain way, I'd like to see emails be done.
Sure.
But what are some of the myths that are wrapped around email that maybe make it so scary for talent?
Sure. So I think, there are a few different things, and I kind of want to, let me start from like the top and kind of drill down from there.
Sure.
And this is something I tell my students, a lot of people say, well, and the main question I get asked, when I'm cold emailing someone, are they going to get mad at me? Am I bothering them? And that's the most common question I get. And let me just say that there's nothing wrong with you sending somebody an email. I mean, I get tons of emails. Corey, I'm sure you get tons of emails. Yeah. If I don't want to respond, I just don't respond, or I delete it, whatever. I couldn't even tell you who it's from. So there's literally the only thing that you can do when you market to somebody is make them money. If they add you, let's say let's say it's a production company, right? And they keep a roster of internal talent, whatever. They listen to your stuff. They already think you're good. They added you, so they already vetted you. They know that you are talented. So you don't have to worry about like pushing that on them. So once you are on their roster, you're just another name to give to their client. And, who knows? And, Corey, let's say you're a voice talent. Let's say you work with production company 123, and, you do a lot of work for Coca-Cola through them. And Coca-Cola says, production company 123, we love you. We love you guys because Corey works with you. He's a great voice for our brand. Well, then you're making them money, and they're going to keep coming back to you, and you make them look good. So literally, once they add you, that's it. All you can do is make them money. So any fears that you have, completely get rid of that, because it's simple. And then the next thing, and tell me if I'm talking too much. Cool. The next thing is, a lot of people think, with an email, I gotta do this and this and this, and they make it complex, and it takes forever to write an email. I mean, I've been there. I used to send my whole life story, and I would second guess myself when it came to emails and scrutinize every single word.
Common.
Yep. It's literally as simple as you asking a few questions, at least in my my methods, my process. And I tell everybody, if you've ever sent a phone call, sent an email, if you've ever made a phone call, well, then you know how to market. It really is so super simple that you should think of it that way.
Hang on a second. Let me stop you there.
Please.
Because there are some times in the show where a guest says something and I say, it's time to hit the pause button. We're going to rewind.
Yep. Sweet.
I want you to say what you just said again, because that was very compelling.
Cool.
About if you know how to make a phone call. Just say that slowly. Go get it, nation. Take out your pen right now and write this down, what Tom is about to tell you. And that's in order. Go ahead.
If you've ever, forget voiceover or whatever it is for a second, if you've ever made a phone call in your life, if you've ever sent an email in your life, I don't care what it's about, then you know how to market, because that's all it is. That's really all it is. It's simple. Think about it. You're just being yourself. You're being your authentic and genuine self. And if every audition that you see nowadays is asking for authentic and genuine and just be you, then your marketing should be no different. That's really what it boils down to.
Boom. That is what we call here in Go Get It Nation, Tom, a truth bomb.
Sweet. Love it.
Dude, that was awesome. We have some more people that have joined us. We have the start of some questions. So
definitely.
Great. So John Duffin has joined us. Mason Stewart has joined us. Brad Storm is here. Nessa Lobos is here. Nick Middlecoff is here. Mandy Fisher is here. What a great group so far.
Yeah, I know a lot of these names
here. So Hadi Hajar asks, when you direct market, do you typically include your demo?
Yeah, and Hadi, I'm glad that you asked that, because that's another one of the tips from before that I was thinking of. You absolutely should include your demo, but you never, unless they tell you to, you never want to send your demo as an attachment. So what I mean by telling you to, let's say you go to the website, and this is going to happen every now and then. You go to a company website and it says voice talent, email an MP3 version of your demo to casting@company.com. Well, then that's fine. You got to follow directions. You have to show them that you can do that. But if they don't tell you, which a lot of times they won't, and you're just kind of blindly emailing them, you do not send an attachment. Cybersecurity is the main thing nowadays, and one of the ways for viruses to be transmitted is through attachments. And going back to my corporate America days, IT departments will actually quarantine emails from external senders with attachments. So you run the risk of your email never getting there. Always send a link, preferably a website, because you're a business and businesses have websites.
Awesome.
Yeah, but definitely.
So John Grimes has another question here. He says, hey, Tom, is there a certain emailing program you like to use?
Yeah. So, and this, I saw Nicholas's question too, so we can kind of group these in together. So I have G Suite, I have my own domain, info@tomaglio.com. But through that, what I use to send emails is Upper Level CRM from Brad Newman. Really, really, really great guy, really great product. It's great. Literally, I just upload my leads for the day, click a button, and I can kind of go about my business as the emails get sent off in the background.
So you're using Upper Level CRM
yep.
as your tool. And for the folks that may not quite understand what a CRM does, give us the 5th grade version of what that program does for you.
Sure. So a CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management System, and it's basically like a one-stop shop for all your marketing needs. That's where it houses your contacts, where it houses your lists. You take your notes on your lists, and it's where you can send out emails, a lot of them, with just the click of a button by uploading to a specific queue. Super easy. Very, very, again, simple. Listen, I'm simple. I want to make things as simple as possible. So that's why I like Upper Level, because I literally just click a button, after I create my list, and it gets sent off.
Awesome. So we have a question from Ross Merritt.
Yeah.
If you're selling a physical product, should an email have a picture?
That's funny, because that's kind of outside, of voiceover, so to speak. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say yes for 2 reasons. One, going back to voiceover, I want to send my demo. I want them to essentially see my product, and I like to eliminate as little back and I like to eliminate as much back and forth as I can, because then you run the risk of them falling off. So I would absolutely include a picture, but also pictures get a lot more responses than just text does. Videos get more responses than pictures do. So potentially look at, and this is something one of my good buddies was doing on LinkedIn, that I started doing. So I learned from other people too. My friend Marco Camarata, great guy. He started sending videos on LinkedIn, and he got a lot more responses than audio messages, which got a lot more responses than text. So to answer your question, I would absolutely send a picture. Make sure it's going to load. You don't want them to get like the white box with the X in it. But absolutely, I see no problem with that. Gets their attention. People are visual.
Awesome. The questions are rolling in here, Tom, which is great. Damon Allen's asked, does Nimble have the same function as Upper Level?
I don't know. I have not used Nimble. I would imagine so. Kind of emailing, sending out your emails is kind of like a CRM 101. So I would imagine so. But you'd have to check that out. But I can't see why it wouldn't.
And Brad Storm asks, and this is a
Mhm.
question we can probably both
Yeah,
tag team on here, is
please.
what's the best way to build relationships? Is it emails, direct
Mhm.
messaging on social media, etc.?
Yeah. So, what I will say to that is, whatever you prefer, just be yourself. I know people who prefer emailing. That's fine if you want to build relationships that way. I know people who do prefer social media, and that's fine. I know people who like to make phone calls, and that's fine. Whatever you're comfortable doing is where you're going to be the most yourself. What I will say, and going to speaking from the email part, you know, you should definitely talk a little bit about yourself in the email because, I tell everybody there's two parties to every single email, them and you. And if you can't find something that really truly resonates with you without being fake about them, then you should say something about the other party yourself. So I like to build my relationships in my emails. So what I'll do is I'll say, something like a little bit about me. I'm a huge gamer and new dad. And I get a lot of people responding to me, congratulating me, and we talk about our kids, and then it kind of segues into the voiceover speak because listen, people want to work with people and they want to know they can get along with you. So whatever medium you prefer, where you can be your most authentic self, I think that's the best way to make relationships.
And I'll piggyback
Yeah, please.
Brad, on what Tom says. And, to put a big bow on what he was talking about, the whole point is to build know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
You want to build know, like, and trust. And look, you want to be comfortable in using the marketing mechanism, whatever that is, a telephone, email,
Yep.
smoke signal, carrier pigeon, whatever it is, you want to be comfortable using that. However, you also at least need to be fluent in what your potential client is comfortable with.
Right.
You need to there's an old expression, go where the money is.
Yep.
And if that particular lead, if there's a casting director at an animation house that is really, really comfortable communicating over Twitter,
Yep.
well, you better send them a dynamite DM on
Yep.
Twitter, or you better know how to retweet his stuff, for
Yep.
example. And we can go on and on there. So good stuff. We have a question from Michael Austin. He says, super green. He's worked on a couple of spots, but not steady.
Mhm.
How can a newbie like me get started? Why pick me over someone with way more experience?
So, Michael, to that I say, of all my time direct marketing, I don't think I've ever gotten asked for a resume. I honestly, I'm trying to think. I really can't think that I have. You have, as long as you're comfortable with your demos, Michael, and you're confident, and you have a website, and you have a home studio, then you should start marketing. And a lot of that has to do with confidence. And again, going back to, let's say, Michael, you and I are marketing to the same person, random example here. And, I mentioned my own thing. And then maybe in your email, you mentioned, oh, I'm a huge dog person. I have, this is my dog, whatever. Maybe the person who we're emailing is a huge dog person as well. So by you connecting with them on a human level, they're going to pick you over. They're going to over picking me because people want to work with people that they feel they know. And there's nothing, that builds trust and familiarity more than you guys having common interests. So it's all about, selling yourself and showing that you're confident and being confident in what you're selling essentially. And another thing I want to say is think about it like this: why someone would pick you over someone else. The most important asset to any buyer, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, is time, because time equals money. So how can you save that person time in the voiceover world? Maybe you can bang out an hour-long session in 10 minutes. Maybe you can, instead of them having to go through a lengthy casting process, maybe you get to them and you can become their go-to person because you have a fast turnaround time. Whatever saving time is, then you need to show them that you will save them and give them back more time than the next person will. And at the end of the day, as long as they like your work, if you can save them time, it doesn't matter. Me, who's the voice of AT&T Fiber, if I can't do that, and no matter my experience, you're going to get the job.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Marco Camerata says his ears are ringing.
That's my buddy right there.
What's up, Marco? Steve
what's up, man?
asks, how often do you email your contacts to stay fresh in their minds?
Yeah. That's so important. And Corey, I think, you can speak on this as well, especially from a social media standpoint. But I tell everybody, my marketing process has 6 steps, and steps 1 through 5 are great, but 90% of that doesn't matter if you don't stay top of mind. You have to. It's not their job to remember you. It's your job to make them remember you. So what I will do, and I see some other questions here about people who didn't reply, I'm going to kind of group them together. If somebody doesn't reply to me, I will follow up with them 7 days later. There's something about a follow-up that just creates a sense of urgency. If you email me and I don't respond right away and then you follow up, I'm like, that's right. Let me respond. Obviously, it's important. Just creates a follow-up. And again, that's coming from my corporate America background. It creates a sense of urgency. But also with the people who say, yeah, I'll add you to their my roster and you have a great voice. That's awesome. But, they're busy. Things are coming in and out. They may work with other talent who have established themselves. You need to stay top of mind. So for people who do respond to me and who will add me to their roster, I'll follow up like every 60 to 90 days. But I make sure to ask first because sometimes they'll say no, and that's fine. You want to respect their wishes. But I know social media is that different for social media? What would you say the timing is there?
Well, I kind of work more on intuition as far as the warmth of the lead.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to tell my clients I'd rather them err on being too aggressive than not.
Yeah.
Let that person say back off.
Yeah, I agree.
Let them say, hey, I'll let you know when I'm ready. At least you know where you stand.
Exactly.
Because if you don't ask, you'll never know.
No, it's true. And, and then that way, if they say back off, then you know that you don't have to spend any more time pursuing that person.
They're doing you a giant favor. And that's
exactly
where most folks get apprehensive and they get scared. And I try to teach, like, if you get that response, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get a no, I love getting no's because it means that my emails are worthy of getting a response, So it's you got to stay top of mind. But yeah, absolutely. You should I totally agree. Err on the side of being more aggressive than not. 100%.
Dude, the questions are rolling in. I knew they would. So Charlie Wyrock is asking, what did you learn not to do with direct marketing through trial and error?
Oh, man. I learned not to send a novel because I actually, when I first started marketing, and this is before I kind of carved out my follow-up game. Oh man, I used to send people novels. I sent I emailed this one guy and he responded 6 months later. This is before I followed up and stuff. He's like, I'm so sorry. Your email was long. I was just busy. And I'm lucky he responded. I probably lost tons of contacts that I'll never get back because I sent like my whole life story in an email. I don't know about you, but when somebody emails me or messages me like a block of text, I'm like, oh my God, I'll respond to it later. We're busy.
I thought you were going to say that he responded 6 months later because it took him 6 months to read it.
Honestly, it probably did. It probably did because it was so long.
That's hysterical. So keep them short, Charlie.
Short and sweet,
brother. And I know Charlie has to work on that. He's a client of mine, and we need to work on keeping those short, man.
Yeah.
So Nick Middlecoff asks, can your CRM give reminders for follow-ups?
You would have to check with Brad. I know that he's implementing or did implement the calendars feature. I'm not sure if it's available to all users yet. But I know that I've seen it in his pipeline. I think it's coming soon. But just check with him.
And question from Ann Lucente. Ann, here we go here. What would you say in a follow-up to someone who didn't answer the initial email?
Yeah. So, Ann, what I'll do is, and it's, again, simple, very, very easy, couple sentences. I'll always start with my call to action, because there's a sales tactic called bluff, bottom line up front. And the reason why that's important, and my call to action is, do you keep a roster of voiceover talent? Because that's what I want to know. The reason why I want to put that in the front is because in 2019, more than half of all email was checked on a phone. So why is that important? Because the preview section in a phone, that makes a world of I use that preview section on my phone to see if I'm going to open up the email or not. And you want that call to action to be right there. So you want to make sure that they see that, because they can look at that call to action. They know they don't have to spend any time reading the rest of it, which I don't care if they do. I just want the yes or the no. I'd like for them to look at it. But anyway, so I'll always lead with that. And then I'll just say, I emailed you last week, I know you're busy, just wanted to check in, no rush. And then I'll give my demos again. You want to give slight indifference, because that kind of shows confidence. You don't want to show them that you're overly hungry for their business, because no one wants to work with people who are desperate. So definitely follow up and definitely say that you emailed them, just show some diligence, but let them know it's cool. You're casual and everything like that. You respect that they're busy. And a lot of times people will gravitate towards the people who show confidence like that.
And Ann, I'll give you just another option.
Yeah.
Which is sort of it's very similar to what you just said. It's just a simple thing. It's a tactic that I've used over and over again. Is I'll take that original email that I might have sent, let's just say 2 weeks ago. I'll go to my sent folder. I'll click that email. I'll hit the forward button. And in the subject line, before the capital FW : I'll put in parentheses, very simply, did you get this? Question mark. And you'd be amazed how many people are like, oh, when you say, did you get this? They think they missed something.
Yeah.
So it's just another way. People don't like knowing that they fumbled something or they forgot something.
Yeah.
So if anything, they'll at least look at it. But either option is good. I would totally try to work in both if you could.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I love that. And that's something I don't know of any CRM that you can follow up on the initial thread, but if you can do that, that's brilliant right there. So I'm taking that to
man.
heart. Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. I love it.
So Mason Stewart asks, so he's been working on direct marketing, but he doesn't get a ton of response after 2 follow-ups every 7 days. Does he need to rethink his marketing email or just keep grinding it out?
So, possibly both, Mason. I know that we're talking. I'm going to email you after this as well, because I know we were talking offline. You should definitely keep grinding it out, because marketing, to a certain extent, is a numbers game. I mean, I think the industry standard for cold emailing, and across any industry, is like a 2% response rate.
That's right.
Yeah, it's low, but you don't need the majority of people to respond. That being said, that's not to say that there's nothing you can improve upon. I'm always changing up my emails. So, definitely keep it up, Mason. But when we talk later this week, I'm going to send you the time, by the way. Let's take a look together. We'll see what your emails are looking like.
So Bill has a question here.
Yeah.
What's an example of a call to action in an email follow-up that shows in a preview?
Sure. Like I said, do you keep a roster of voiceover talent? Or honestly, like a question, Corey, I love what you said. Did you get this? Something that's going to warrant a yes or a no response. So any type of question, I think, is best. A direct question. Like I said, do you keep a roster of voiceover talent? Some people say, are you currently accepting, voiceover demos? Corey, yours, did you get this? Which is, I love that, man. I'm gonna keep going back to that. But whatever, basically the answer to the question that you want, what is your purpose for emailing them?
You can also try response requested. That's another quick little thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that may come off a little salesy, depending on who's looking at it. It's just something else that you can mix in there. Ross Merritt asked, "What's a good open?" We talked about that, about 2%. What's a good click-through rate?
Honestly, I think if you're sitting around like 5 to 10%, I'm pretty happy with that. You're going to get a lot more opens, I think, than you will responses, and it's just the way it is. Some people will open all your open emails to get them unread. But I think if you're sitting around like 5 to 10%, that's pretty good.
Cool. So Michael has a follow-up question, about talking about being desperate, and he's saying he wants all the business he can handle, right? If he's just out of the gates. So how would you address that as far as how far to push it? I guess there's a difference between urgency, and tenacity and desperation.
Yeah, there are a few different ways. You definitely want your emails, or however it is that you're contacting the person, you want to space them out. Best practices in corporate America for emailing is like 24 hours and 7 days. I probably would so I do the 7 days. I'd probably err more on the side of 7 days, unless something obviously super, urgent, which some things are. But that's one way you can kind of get rid of that or you can kind of work to kind of, get rid of that desperation. Listen, it doesn't matter if you're in the game for 20 years or 2 days. Everybody wants all the work that they can get, right? Everybody wants to make money and grow their business. So you don't want to essentially beg the person and push your product too hard, because that's going to show, honestly, it just shows like, why are you trying so hard? What's wrong with your product that you have to do that? And there's another sales tactic called slight indifference, where you can literally, when you email somebody, you can give your pitch and then basically say, not sure if this is of value to you, or, no worries if it's not. Things like that. It just shows that you're not desperate. You're not saying, please buy from me. You're saying, listen, it's all good if I'm not if we're not a good fit, because remember, you're vetting them as much as they're vetting you. You want them to be a good client. And more often than not, using that slight indifference will get people to realize that you're kind of casual, you're easy to do business with, and they're going to want to work with you more.
Here's a question for me that and I know what I do for me.
Yeah.
And I know what I push my clients to do. And I know what some other voice talent are doing.
Yeah.
That email well.
Mm-hmm.
How many emails should you be sending in a week, in a month? Like, in order to get that 2%, you gotta send out 100.
Yeah. It's funny. There's no, marketing to a certain extent, like I said before, is a numbers game. So, the more people you market to, the better your chances of getting a response and stuff like that. Everybody's different. I like to send probably between like 30 and 50 emails a day.
Okay.
Monday through Thursday. I don't email on Fridays or over the weekend. People take off on Fridays and stuff like that. So what I do is, I actually have a virtual assistant now. He'll send me about like 30 to 50 leads a day. And then I'll also go on Instagram, which is something I learned from another marketer, Josh Alexander. And there's tons of emails there. So I like to send about like 25 to 30 from my virtual assistant, which is through like lists and stuff like that. And I like to send probably another like 50 or so from Instagram for whatever genre I'm doing that day. So if I can hit 100 that day, that's great. But I'd say between like 50 and 75 between all the mediums that I'm using is where I'm happy. But, yours may not be there. I know J. Michael Collins says that you should try to email a good, or contact at least a good 20 people per day. And if you do that, then that's a pretty good path to be on.
So let me put a big exclamation point on that, because we're going to make a tremendous point here. So Go Get It Nation, you just heard someone that specializes in direct marketing and email marketing, who is leading by example and sending out 30 to 50 emails per day, 4 days a week. So that's 120 to 200 emails a week, right? If my math is correct.
Absolutely. Yep.
He happened to name drop a very influential voiceover performance coach that's saying, you probably want to be around 20 a day. Okay, let's just take that at face value for a second. 20 a day, that's 80 a week.
Yeah.
So we're at 80, and then we're at 120 or 200. So we're look at this spectrum we're developing here. Yeah. So for the talent that said, well, I sent out 5 emails this week. It's like, it doesn't, everything that Tom just mentioned to you, all of these great tips, the calls to action, the frequency, the length of the email, the bluff method, all these really good concrete strategies will serve you no good if you're only sending out a couple emails a day. You got to get at bats, guys. This is what we're talking about. Do you find that you have to kind of nudge some of your clients to get to that level?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I'm actually happy that you said that. I had a production company that I was emailing, honestly, for like a good 2 years, because they had responded, and so they said, you can absolutely keep following up. So I respected their wishes, and they had said, listen, we have a go-to person for voiceover, but that might be changing soon. And I kept on them for 2 years. I even sent them a holiday gift because I wanted their business. And just recently, finally, I now do work with them every single week. You got to do it. It's some people you're going to get right away. Some people it's going to take you 2 years. But if they're worth it, you definitely got to keep nudging them, respectfully and not too pushy. But yeah, you got to keep at it.
But the lesson is you got to keep at it, because there is this. Myth is overused, but let's use that because I can't think of another word right now. But there's this myth out there that if you sign up for the 90-day course or the playbook PDF or the couple of coaching sessions with Tom or whatever it is, that all of a sudden here comes the business. And folks scratch their head like, well, I've been sending out emails for 6 weeks and nothing's happening. I'm like, it's only 6 weeks. Come on, man. You got to stick it out. I was just discussing with another client, and I don't know if you've ever heard, it's called the Stonecutter's Creed. Stonecutter's Creed, that, back in the day, someone's watching someone hitting a rock with a hammer. And, at the 101st blow, basically the rock splits. And
Yeah.
he knew that it wasn't the 101st blow that made the rock
Yep.
split. It was all of the compound work from the 100 blows before it.
Yep.
And it's
Absolutely.
the same thing with your emailing, guys. So I can't stress it enough. Tom has ridiculously sick, good information that you should be listening, taking notes, and
Thank you, man.
But if you don't put it into practice,
you gotta
several times a day,
Yep.
several days a week, you are going to be in the same spot that you started.
Yep. And a lot of marketing, at least from my marketing, has been a lot of trial and error. I've learned a lot of things that work, but more importantly, I've learned things that don't work. And when I first started, I think I got my first like job from marketing. Oh man, maybe like a couple of months after I started marketing, because again, my emails were super long and stuff like that. You gotta learn what works well for you, and you gotta, develop your brand. And you got to know how your brand speaks to customers and stuff like that. But yeah, you have to keep at it. I mean, you can market for a month and great, but this is a long game. Marketing really is a long game. And that's something I always tell my students.
Love it. And
you have to. Yeah. No,
thank you for saying that.
No, thank you.
Questions are rolling in if you still have time here.
Yeah.
Hadi asks, how do you, I guess, keep track of all this volume of email when you're managing a full-time career while growing a voiceover business? So what do you tell the side hustler, basically?
So, you're going to hear this a lot from actually a lot of like CEOs and stuff. Mornings are your best friend. When I worked in an office, I used to get to the office at like 6:30 in the morning, because I had like 2 monitors and stuff like that. And I would send out my emails. Or I would queue my emails up, so I should say, to send out at the necessary times, the appropriate times. Use your mornings and use your night times as times where you can do research and you can vet your leads and stuff like that. That way, all you have to do during the day, whether you have a CRM or you can even schedule in Gmail, which is like the best thing ever, all you have to do is just click a button and that's it, and they get sent off in the background. But you got to maximize that time well. Lunch times. Basically any free time that you have, obviously not taking away from family and stuff like that. You want to be working at it to grow your business. Being an entrepreneur is hard, especially in the beginning. A lot of hours. Yep.
So Nick Middlecoff has another question. Do you invoice more often than not? He's heard from other marketers that it can slow the process.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always invoice. What's nice is probably about like half of my work comes from my agents. So they take they'll do that part for me. But yeah, absolutely. From my marketing clients. Yeah, I have to invoice them. Some of my clients have like different programs and stuff. Like one of my biggest clients has a program where literally they'll basically kind of send me the invoice and I just got to sign off on it, make sure that everything's good. And I click a button and that's it. But otherwise, I have to create invoices. What I'll do is I'll usually send the invoice after I send the file, like the finished file. That way I don't lose sight of it. And if they need anything else, obviously they can come back to me. Again, and I've done that too. I've forgotten to send invoices. So you want to just have a method of doing it. And I think a lot of times doing it when you deliver that file, it's going to help you out in the long run.
So Robert Jonathan, quick question. This kind of goes back to maybe the CRM you can talk about. He said, 20 to 40 emails a day seems like a lot. Do you use a template for your emails to save time? Yeah, so there are a few things that are going to save me time and how I'm able to hit those numbers. Absolutely. I have a few different templates that I use to kind of switch things up. And my CRM is great because it'll just populate like the name and I can click the button. But before I was doing that, I actually physically had templates in Google in a Word doc that I was using, and I would plug people's names into it. And then I would schedule the email so they could go out when I needed them to, and I didn't have to worry about it. One thing actually, before I say the next thing, if you are going to use templates and you're not using a CRM that's going to populate the name, please make sure you put the person's name in, because another mistake that I made, one of my templates was like hi name, and I sent somebody hi name when I was like, blasting through my emailing. You don't want to do that. That's embarrassing. So make sure that you do that. But also what I'll do is I tell my virtual assistant to do this now. When he sends me leads, like let's say he sends me like 6 per company, I'll usually only email about like 2 people per company per week, just to spread it out. That way, let's say he sends me,
6 people today. Okay, email 2. Well, the next week I already have another 2 lined up that I don't have to worry about. So that's gonna help me get my numbers up too. You got to build it up over time, but templates and stuff like that, and having that list built up is important.
It's a perfect segue to the next question, which kind of tickled here from Dave Dickinson. How are you obtaining 200 plus email addresses per week to send out?
So not to give too much information, because that's kind of what goes into one of the big things of my process that I teach my students. But there are tons and tons and tons of ways to find email addresses. One of the ways that I will that I can teach you guys right now is there's a tool called hunter.io. It's a Chrome plugin as well. Highly recommend it. It's literally like, you go to a website and you'll click the Hunter button, and then what it'll do is it'll scour that domain for any email address it can find, whether it's email addresses that you and I can see or something embedded into the code. And if it finds those email addresses, it'll give them back to you. And that's a great way to find email addresses. But I also have other kind of more surefire ways, because Hunter is not always 100% accurate.
There you go. There you go. So listen, hey man, we are like in overtime here. This is unbelievable. The questions were great. I'll kind of give a last call here.
Yeah.
If anybody else has any questions, a quick hello to Jimmy Celeste and Big Jim Lamont, who jumped on a little late. Thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate you guys so much. We are here with voiceover actor and direct marketing expert, Mr. Tom Aglio, and we have covered all sorts of cool things about email. Let me ask you this, while we're waiting for the last call for questions.
Yeah.
First off, from a coaching standpoint, if someone wanted to reach out to you and say, hey man, I want you to help me with my email or help me ramp up my business, I'm kind of new.
Yeah.
How do they do that?
So, sure. So you would just go to tomaglio.com/coaching and set up the free 15-minute consult. I like to do that before I have somebody actually like purchase like the actual coaching, just so we can chat and listen. If I'm not the right fit for what you're looking for, I'm going to refer you to people like Corey who are a better fit. That's why I like to have that consult. So you go there, you set that up, we'll talk. And then if we decide that, we're a good fit, and then we can schedule a longer session down the road.
And then I would imagine is the easiest way to connect with you for any of my voiceover purchasing friends.
Yeah.
My ad agency peeps and whatnot. How do they reach out to you if they need that sound that you do so well?
Awesome. Yeah. So it's info@tomaglio.com. That is the best way. I check my email all the time. That's the best way to email me. You can also go to my website, tomaglio.com/contact, and my agent's information is there, as well as like a form if you prefer to go that route. But email, there you go. See, true to my word, email is the best way.
And he'll answer. He'll read his email.
I will.
You may not even have to follow up with him. So that's good. So listen, Tom, I can't thank you enough, man.
No, man. Thank you.
Rapid fire, email knowledge, so many good, useful nuggets in there. I'm going to remind everybody that after Tom and I get done, I'm hanging out in a room right now on Clubhouse. If anybody wants to ask me any extra questions, I'll hang out for a little while I still have a little bit of a voice left.
Please do, guys. Corey's got tons of great information. Seriously. He sent me a website evaluation that was just mind-blowing. So make use of that. Pick his brain.
Well, Tom, thanks so much, brother, for joining us. And real quick, a quick note to everybody. Next week, we will not have a show next week because probably going to be doing some traveling that day. Oh, we got one last question at the bell. We're going to hook him up because I love Big Jim. He said he came in late and he's not sure if he answered this. But if a client list is not large enough, do you suggest invoicing to get paid before you do the work?
So I'm not sure about the first part. If the client list is not large enough, I mean, do you mean like if they don't have a ton of like reputable clients?
Maybe if a voice talent doesn't have a whole lot of business.
Okay.
Can you feel confident in asking for payment in advance? I'm going to try to paraphrase for you.
Sure. That's up to you. I mean, whatever you feel most comfortable with. I know people who send out like contracts for every job that they have. I know people who will just trust their clients. I know people who will ask for half payment up front. It's truly up to you. The point is, even if your client list is not that big and you feel like you're not that much of a professional, you got to carry yourself like you are a professional, like you're doing jobs for Google and Disney, just today. So make sure as long as you carry yourself that way, people will see you that way too.
And I'll leave everybody with this one tip that, I would tell people, when I would get a first time customer I would tell them, say, listen, we're not a bank. We're not going to run your credit. But in good faith, we'd like for you to pay for this initial job in advance.
Yeah.
And then you will have earned your credit and you'll earn your payment terms.
There you go.
And that's a good indication right there. If that client is going to be someone you're going to want to work with over the long haul.
Yeah.
They hem and haw.
Yeah.
Jim, that's a red flag. You got to raise up right there. It's like, man, this customer is going to be a real pain in the ass.
Yeah. You're going to have to go chasing them to pay you. I mean, who wants to do that?
Yeah. Otherwise, if they're like, all right, here's whatever, $250 or $300, whatever the fee is, if they just open up the till and give it to you, you know that they have a budget to pay you again and again and again.
Absolutely.
So on that note, Tom, thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good. I'm glad this was so much fun. Seriously, guys. Thank you, Corey. This was it's truly an honor. Really. Thank you.
I appreciate you going ringside. A reminder, we got the post-game show. I see Nick is already hanging out on deck there. Nick, I got you in a minute here. We're going to be doing the post-game show on Clubhouse. There is not going to be a ringside next week, but I do have some really cool guests lined up throughout the month of April. Looking forward to going ringside with you then. Until then, let's go get it.
Let's go get it.
All right.
Thanks, guys.